Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. I kind of had gone back into a bad habit. A habit that I haven't really been in since I was in high school. Maybe even in college. I haven't really been eating breakfast during the week as much as I would like to. Might be the fact because I have to go to work pretty early during the day, that I don't have the time to. But before like a couple months ago, I would make time. But lately I haven't been getting up as early, in which corresponds to not eating breakfast, not having food in the morning when I wake up. Any form of energy, nothing. I used to eat like little Belvita crackers, some granola bars, but lately I just haven't been eating anything. And I thought that would be like really affect me, like really make me like hungry. It hasn't really done that throughout the day. I haven't been like super hungry, before lunch where I'm like, I need to eat now. It's just been like a kind of a steady I'm hungry, I could eat, but I'm not like dying, which I think is like either got to be good, right? Because I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I need to eat, specifically like soon after I wake up. I just, I go to work and lunchtime comes. I'm like, okay, let's go eat. I'm ready. But I feel like also that there's something like on the molecular level that when I don't eat in the morning, it probably makes me not as sharp during the day. But I don't really notice that because I just feel like I'm not like, it's not like I'm tired or anything like that. It's just maybe like the lack of nutrition, the lack of energy is probably not making me thrive as much as I think I would be if I was on a full stomach of breakfast, like the full serving of breakfast, like let's say eggs, some bacon, toast, fresh fruit, some nice juice, water, maybe some milk, a little bit of coffee. That's like when they would show like pictures of cereal in the commercials of like what kids back when I was a kid, what they should eat for breakfast. It'd be like a bowl of cereal, some milk, and like an orange or some type of fruit next to your cereal. That would be kind of like marketed as the absolutely, the healthy breakfast, some cereal with some fruit, Obviously the cereal that would have that usually would be like the super sugary cereals like Frosted Flakes or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They would market it with, also have some fruit with your breakfast because you're going to need some actual energy instead of this bowl of sugar and milk that you're eating in the morning. I just feel like, now that I'm grown up, I don't really need the energy as much as I did when I was younger. And I went through this pattern where, obviously, when like I said, back when I was in school, I wouldn't eat that much breakfast because I would wake up late. And after that, I kind of had a little bit more time, and then, things change. You're like, oh, I can't really do that as much as I used to. I mean, I can. I just have to wake up early. But that's just so hard to do now. Waking up early on a work day is like not even a thing I could do anymore. I don't know what it is. I feel like I always can just say, oh, I got like 10 minutes. I don't really need to be up right now. Go back to sleep. Then I wake up and I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm not late, but I'm like, I can't really chill out in the morning, which is not something you want to do in the morning. You're not supposed to wake up and just chill out and be like, oh, yeah, cool. Just chill out. Nothing. Now, for me, it's go, go, go. I don't got time to be reading the paper or on my phone, really. I just gotta go because I feel like sometimes I take a little too much time in the shower than most people do. Whenever I get in the shower in the morning, wash my hair, wash my body, I feel like that just takes way too much time. When I do it specifically, I feel like I'm slow in there. Like I take way too long. Or maybe it's just that the time just goes by so quickly in the morning. When you got to be somewhere, when you got to do something in the morning, and you think you have time, like, oh, I got like a good hour or so. That time just kind of goes away, and you're like, oh shit, I have like no time at all. I gotta go. I haven't even had time to make a cup of coffee these past couple days because I simply don't have time to drink it because, for one, the coffee is scalding hot. I ain't got no time to drink that shit. I've been having to put some ice cubes in the coffee just to cool it down so I can drink it. But for the most part, not that much. Not enough time. Occasionally, sometimes I would grab something to go where I would eat on the way to work. Lately, I've been eating these chewy granola bars. And I remember I had those when I was a kid. I bought them again, tried them out because I haven't had them in a long time. I bought the chocolate chip flavored chewy granola bar, to have as a morning snack whenever I would, or morning breakfast, something to get in my stomach because I was like, you know what, I can't just be eating nothing. I have to eat something, even though it doesn't really affect me. I don't really feel anything. I should probably eat something because it's good for me, and it's granola. I'm thinking like, Quaker makes this, they make oatmeal, this has got to be, somewhat okay for me to consume. This isn't going to be junk food, right? This is healthy. This is a granola bar. I remember back in the day, like these were, marketed pretty well for everybody. And everybody could eat this type of granola bar. It should be fine, Didn't matter what flavor it was. Chocolate chip, peanut butter, chocolate, s'mores, whatever. You realize that all those flavors that I mentioned are like almost like versions of candy, right? Chocolate chip, peanut butter, chocolate, s'more, all type of sweet foods, right? All type of sweets that you should not be eating that much, especially during breakfast time. And I took a bite of the chewy bar, chocolate chip, and as soon as I did, I'm like, this thing has so much sugar in it. Like, I could not believe it. It was insane. Now, usually I'm an okay guy with sugar. I don't really need sugar. I'm not a sugar addict. If I was to pick between savory and then sweet, savory versus sweet, I'm more of a savory guy. I'm more of a salt guy. Like, when there's a party and there's pizza, I'm going to go for the pizza. If there's a party with pizza alongside with cake, I might go for the cake, but I'll probably just stick with the pizza. I'll be honest. But also kind of depends on the certain sweet. Cake to me is like a great sweet. I always get it. Cupcakes, cookies, ice cream. Not a huge pie guy. Not a huge pastry guy. Not a really big pastry guy. Cinnamon roll, not really my thing, I'll be honest. Not really my thing. Slushies, nah, not really. Sugary drinks like a grape soda. I'm a Coca-Cola man. So anything but that is like, maybe. I might get that, I might not. But in terms of like my preferability, I prefer sweet, salty over sweet. It's just my thing. I just think that it's not better for you. Absolutely not. But not as addictive, I think, as sugar is. Sugar is like crazy, Luckily, I'm not a sugar addict. I don't have a problem with sugar, thank God. I don't think saltiness has that type of addictivity as sugar. I don't think it does. But I've always kind of pondered and wondered and thought, wait, when did the chewy bar become such a sugar bomb. I actually could not believe how much sugar was in like that granola bar. It tasted just like candy. I was like, no way. This can't be good for you. It can't be like what you should be eating every day. Well, maybe, I mean, it's not like a lot of sugar, but it's a good amount of sugar. And I don't know, like the grams or the milligrams that you're supposed to consume of sugar a day. How much of that, you're supposed to intake a day. Depending on, your circumstances, depending on your situation, everyone has like a different variable, a different amount of sugar that they should probably consume in a day. If I'm going to go sugar, though, I'm going to go like natural sugar, like fruit sugar, like strawberries, apples, bananas, peaches, nectarines, cherries, that type of stuff. Kiwi, like, I know that you can't eat too much fruit because of the sugar. I know that. But there's something in my brain that because it came out of the ground, just like a lettuce, just like spinach, just like celery, just like a potato, that I can just consume as much as I would like because it came out of the ground. We planted it naturally, and it came out of the ground, and everything that comes out of the ground is much more healthier than things that we make above ground. Like, that, to me, that was always my mindset with fruit. That was like always why I thought that, I can eat as much of this as I want because it came from the ground. Turns out that ain't true. Just because it came from the ground, like an apple came from a tree that came from a ground and it's full of sugar, you can't just base your diet on apples as much as you would like to. Even though it's like one of the better tasting fruits. You can't do it. You just cannot do it. I feel like I need to start to incorporate a lot more veggies into my life. And I was talking to my friend about this past weekend. Just chatting about what is a simple way to incorporate veggies into a diet or a day-to-day food intake. Not necessarily a diet, but food intake. What is the easiest way to do it? I think for me, it'd be like just adding, simple snack vegetable items as snacks. Like, instead of chips, bring some baby carrots. Instead of like pretzels, bring some cut up celery. Stuff like that. Some nice like finger vegetables, like they have like on meat trays, like the little broccolis, little cauliflower, little baby carrots, stuff like that. Grape tomatoes, stuff like that. That's like small but healthy for you, right? Like those are vegetables. Those are healthy for you. Now, I am not a huge fan of salads, though. Even though, we make dinner here as a family, we'll have some dinner. We'll have some spaghetti and meatballs or meat sauce, a little bit of bread on the side. And normally with that, we make salad. We make salad, and I'll be honest. I eat salad every single time we have salad. Every single time. I always make myself a big salad before I eat the, main course, whatever that may be that day. Always eat the salad. Always, always, always eat salad. Do I enjoy eating salad? Absolutely not. Salad to me, lettuce in particular, is like the most boring vegetable that you can possibly eat. The more I think about it, the more lettuce is just a vegetable to add on to something. Besides a salad, like lettuce is you just add it to something. You add lettuce to a burger. You add lettuce to a sandwich. You add lettuce to anything else. People never just eat lettuce. Did I say Yeah, you never just eat lettuce by itself, right? Depending on the type of lettuce, I guess. The iceberg lettuce, baby romaine lettuce. You never just eat lettuce by itself. A carrot, you can. Some broccoli, you can. Tomatoes, celery, you can. Well, maybe not tomatoes, but like other types of fruit, you can. Absolutely. Sometimes, I feel like just lettuce is just, there to give you hydration because a lot of it's just water. A lot of lettuce is kind of just water, I feel like. Especially iceberg lettuce is just like water. They say the same thing about celery, but I guess celery is like, I think pretty good for you. I mean, it's green. If it's green, it's got to be good, right? Think about it. Green, it's got to be okay. Got to be delicious. Broccoli, I feel like it's like one of the better vegetables for you. Now, I've also heard that when you steam broccoli or cook broccoli, you lose some of those nutrients that are in the broccoli. I'm not sure what those are, but I feel like whenever we cook broccoli and we, sometimes overcook it or sometimes just cook it just right, no matter what you do, right? You're losing some of that nutrition in that broccoli. Like that broccoli was born out of the ground for you to consume right then and there. Right there for you to consume. Just to eat it out of the ground. And actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, one of the vegetables that I guess I've actually really started to not turn on like I don't like it, but really come into my fruition, being a vegetable that has been part of like my more things nowadays, is onion. I actually really enjoy a nice onion. White, red, it doesn't matter. I love onion. Yellow, it don't matter. I put onions on my hot dogs, burgers. I've done it on my sandwiches a couple times. When we're at restaurants, I say yes to the onion, always to onion, yes to onion. I don't know what it is though. I've been really enjoying the taste of onion, and I can't really put my finger on what it is or what that specific taste is of onion, but like it just, to me, it spices up stuff. I had a hot link one time. I was making hot links, and I normally put some mustard and some ketchup on my hot link and a little bit of relish sometimes if I'm feeling freaky. But this time, we had some onion from I think we had burgers the night before or something like that, but I had onion. And I decided to put like a bunch of the onion in my hot link, like on my bun, right? And I took a bite and I was like, damn, this combination of flavors is actually incredible. I felt like I was Remy from Ratatouille right there. I couldn't believe it. Like, oh my God. All these flavors with the onion, the relish, the hot link itself, the ketchup and the mustard and the bun. It was just incredible. I couldn't believe it. And I think that because it was spicy too, right? The hot link was spicy, combining with the onion. That's kind of like a oniony flavor, bitter. I'm not sure how to describe an onion's flavor, but it was like an onion. Like, it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I could not explain, but like, there's just something about that food that just kind of makes things better, mature, more adult. I don't know what it is, but I just, when you were young, you couldn't believe the shit that your parents would eat and how awful it would taste. I remember one time I tried steak sauce when I was a kid because I saw someone put it on their steak. And I was like, is that good? Like, yeah, it's good. And I tried it. And I was like, this is one of the worst things I've ever tasted. This is so bad. What do you mean it's good? You lied. I was so disappointed. I was actually shocked because I could not believe that person, that adult that I trusted when I was a kid, that I loved when I was a kid, still do to this day. But I was like, yo, you made me eat this shit and it tasted terrible. I can't trust you now. Flash forward to like about 20 years. I like steak sauce. Now, I don't prefer it. I prefer like the steak how it is. Just prepared the way it was with the right seasonings that it had, and cooked right, and just the flavor of the steak with the seasoning for me is enough. But let's say I have a bad steak or an okay steak, right? I've made some okay steaks in the past, and I've made some great steaks. But if I make an okay steak, I'm like, okay, time to break out the A1 sauce, because I think this needs a little bit more some. You know what I mean? So I'll add some steak sauce. I'll be like, you know what? Let's just put some on here. F it. Let's do it. And you know what? It actually kind of makes it taste pretty good, right? It's like specific flavors with combinations that you probably don't even think of when you're a kid or when you're that young. You're just like the shit plain as how it is. Remember back when you didn't like any vegetable on your burger? Now, for me, I'm like, the more the merrier. Pickles, please. Onions, please. Tomato, lettuce, give it all to me. Please. Why not? It just makes it taste that much better. And I think that that's, something that everybody goes through. And you kind of look at the guys that don't do that, right? They don't grow up. They don't develop a sense of a new palate of liking stuff like that. And you're like, holy shit, you eat like you're 5, bro. Like I just remember when I was a kid, ketchup was used so much when I was a kid. I put it on my burgers, hot dogs. I even put it on my steak when I was a kid. I couldn't believe how bad I used ketchup when I was a kid. And you know why? It's just sugar. Like, that's all it is. I mean, it's tomato based, yeah, but you know how much sugar they put in ketchup? Look it up. There's so much goddamn sugar in ketchup. Like, it don't really taste a whole lot like tomato when you put it on your fries or even on your hamburger. It just tastes like sweet sauce, sweet like paste almost. It's like crazy how much sugar they put in ketchup. And let's think about that. Was ketchup designed because they weren't selling tomatoes as much as they wanted to? So they invented a paste or sauce, whatever you want to call it. It's now just called ketchup. And they created this condiment. That way they didn't have to stop the mass production of tomatoes. Just so they can make this sweet sauce that you can use as a condiment on meats and stuff like that. I mean, wild, right? Wild. And then you get these people, these freaks of nature, that actually put ketchup on their pizza. Actual freaks. Like, like, who does that? Why would you do that? Like, there is already tomato sauce on there. You absolute freak. It just makes no sense. There's just some things that just should not be, you shouldn't do. Ketchup on pizza is like, whoa. Like, I mean, they put pineapple on pizza too, which I do not hate as much as some people do. Now, that might be because I'm from California and I enjoy, that type of pizza as well as pepperoni and cheese like everybody else does. But I will, sometimes dabble in other things, other food combinations, and I will try them out. But ketchup on pizza is one I cannot subscribe to. I just can't. If they don't allow you to put ketchup on pizza at a pizzeria, then you shouldn't be putting ketchup on pizza. I'm just saying. I mean, take it from the masters who make pizza every day, right? You go to a pizzeria, pizza parlor, wherever you go to, right? Those guys know pizza inside out. I mean, I'm talking from the dough, yeast, the way it rises, the sauce, toppings, cheese, and all that. They know pizza inside and out. They know what makes it tick. They know good combinations. They might know a combination that you've never even heard of. Only they know because they are pizza crafters. And they are important to society because, let's be honest, man, pizza has got to be the staple food of the United States. It's not Italy. It's got to be the United States, just because of on the sheer amount of pizzas that we sell in this country to everybody out there. It's pretty much probably the sole option for food when it comes to social gatherings. That's not a holiday. I'm not talking about Christmas or Thanksgiving or a holiday that is surrounded by a specific type of food, right? I'm talking about a generic party in the United States. The staple party food in this country has got to be pizza. And it's not just dedicated to parties, right? Pizza is a lifesaver when it comes to family dinner time, because you don't have to take anyone's specific order like at McDonald's or Taco Bell. You don't have to, pay for these different combos at these restaurants and get like essential meals with a drink and all that. All you gotta do is buy one fucking pizza and you can feed your goddamn family. One pizza. Maybe split the toppings down the middle, but one pizza for most families is all you need. It is designed to be consumed by multiple people. It's fantastic. And if you think about it, there is no other, invention out there in all of humanity that brings people together like food does. How about a food product, right? Like pizza, a food item that is catered to families / groups of people. Like it's simple. Pizza is the food of this country. As much as people would say, no, it's the hamburger, no, it's this, no, it's that. Nah, bro. Like, the amount of pizza that is sold today, you cannot compare other types of food in terms of popularity, efficiency, taste, fillingness, deliciousness, variety. Pizza is like the ultimate food on this planet. I probably missed a couple things about pizza that, make it just the best. Just the best. You can get cheesy crust, you can get thin crust, thick crust. You can get goddamn Alfredo sauce for your sauce. You can add these cheeses, different meats. Bro, I have seen buffalo chicken pizza. I've seen Philly cheesesteak pizza, classic pepperoni, anchovy pizza, vegetarian pizza. I've seen, the options are pretty much unlimited. They're limitless in terms of pizza combination and what you would like on your pizza. Everyone is different. I understand that. But the sheer number of combinations that you can put on a pizza, everybody can eat. Gluten-free crust, gluten-free dough. It's the perfect food. It truly is. I'm just saying because I had pizza a few nights ago. I had some pretty cool-ass Domino's pizza. And people might be like, oh, Domino's? Bro, I have to tell you this, bro. Domino's right now, 2023, in terms of taste, in terms of efficiency of getting your pizza, whether that be delivered, you pick it up, order through phone, go inside and order through app. Domino's has it all right now. Domino's should sponsor this podcast because, dude, Domino's is on another level right now. Another level. Their pizza, in my opinion, is so good. I can't get enough of their pizza, bro. It is so delicious. And as Domino's has risen, Pizza Hut has fallen. And I'll be honest, if you've been listening for a while, you know me. I am not a fan of Pizza Hut. I have not been for a while. I don't think that Pizza Hut's pizza, in general, has a good taste to it. A good flavor to it. A simple pizza there does not taste very good. Now, people will tell you that, wait a minute, dude. you didn't get the right crust. You didn't get it cooked correctly. Bitch, I got the basic pizza there with their basic crust. If that ain't good, we have a problem. To me, the ingredients don't seem fresh. They don't taste all that fresh. The sauce is not that great. The crust, and to me, the smell of it, it smells a little too garlicky. Like they put like a garlic butter on it or something like that. And people who get it are probably, and who like Pizza Hut that are listening to this podcast right now are probably going insane right now. I understand. I get it. I understand. But let me cook. Let me talk shit real quick. If they can't make the basic pizza taste good, then I don't think that they have mastered pizza for real. Domino's, though, has absolutely mastered the basic pizza. The ingredients taste fresh. It's always good, in my opinion. It just has a good taste. The crust, when I got it, it was like fluffy but also crispy on the outside. It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful meal, a beautiful sight. Just incredible. I mean, I could eat Domino's like all day and all night, I'll be honest. Like, it's that good for me. Like, it's incredible. I have no problem whatsoever with Domino's. They have done nothing to me as in terms of doing me wrong, whereas giving me bad pizza has always been pretty good. Now, I think that the issue with these chain pizzas has both hit these franchises, these pizza chains in different ways. And they've all kind of, had their own experience with this. But I think right now, Domino's is kind of, doing it better. And that problem with these chains is they add other things that are not pizza to their menu. If you can recall, when Domino's added the pasta bowls, that was insane. Now, in my pure honesty, I've never had a pasta bowl from there. And it wasn't just a pasta bowl, by the way, in like a cardboard or a plastic bowl. No, it was a bread bowl. Remember that shit that you put clam chowder in at the coast? They stuffed that shit with pasta. Ain't no way anybody was finishing that shit, bro. Ain't no way nobody was going to finish that shit. That shit would have stopped your heart before you can even get halfway done with that pasta. Imagine that. And then you eat the bread bowl around it. Like, you got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Like, I enjoy the way that we as Americans can eat food and put away food. Like, Americans can put away food. But we probably should not be eating as much as we do. I'll be very, very honest. I could not finish the food that I ordered yesterday from a Mexican restaurant because it was simply too much food. And it was just an order of food, like a dinner, and like an entree that I just could not simply finish the food. And I haven't been able to finish that food for years. Every time I get it, I never finish it because I simply cannot finish it. It is too much food for one serving of food. Like, too much food on your plate, And maybe, just maybe that's a sign that we need to probably not put so much food on our plates when we go out to eat. That could be a thing. That could be a possibility. Because I feel like sometimes our portions here in the United States are pretty goddamn big. Pretty freaking big. Now, I would always be in the favor of, like, just leave it as it is. Leave it as it is. Don't change it. But maybe put in a little diet and exercise once in a while. That way you don't get gigantic, right? But people don't want to work out. People don't want to exercise. So maybe the only solution is to make the portions a bit smaller. That might be something that is not saying that's going to happen. It will never, ever happen in this country. But if they did do that, like, oh, this is a much smaller meal, you'll probably be mad for a little bit, but then after a while, you'll be like, oh, you know what? It ain't too bad. Once I see what I'm going to eat and I eat, and, you're like, oh, you trick your brain, like, oh, I'm not still hungry. I'm good. I'm fine. Maybe that'll, actually do some good for people that like food. Just because you're a foodie, people say that they're foodies and they love food doesn't mean you got to eat a lot of food. Like, you don't have to eat a lot, to be a lover of food. You can eat lots of food, just not so much of it, if that makes sense. Like, say like you go on like a food tour, right? In a different country, like you go explore different restaurants and different, food trucks or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I love food. I love food. You try a little bit of each though. Just try a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some of this, some of that, and you're just like, all right, good. I'm cool. I don't need any more. I don't gotta kill an entire plate in order to try all this food. If you're gonna go and have a meal, yeah, do that. I mean, like, eat what you want to eat first and foremost. And if you're hungry, you're probably gonna eat more. But if you're not, you don't need to stuff your face. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But I'm not a role model though, so don't take any of my word for this. It's just an opinion. I feel like some people just tend to just house so much food. Like, you don't need to eat all that. You really, really don't. Am I saying this as a fat person? Yes. But I am working on my shape and on my image and what I eat in a day. Sometimes I feel like going back to the beginning of the show is like, maybe me not eating breakfast is a good thing. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if it's actually benefiting anything or if it's making you worse or making it worse. I don't know if, if I were to skip meals, would I lose weight faster? I'm not too sure. I'll be honest, I'm not sure. There's this whole thing about like the way your body processes food, digests food, that if you do one thing, it might not do it to the best of your ability. For instance, I'll take this, use me as an example. One day, I came home and I decided to make myself a pretty big sandwich. Like, we had some sourdough bread that you would like cut up for like spaghetti or something like that. And I decided to get a chunk of it, cut in half, and make a sandwich with it. Just make a nice sandwich with it. I had some chips. I had some juice, and it was delicious. It was a nice meal. Then after that, I was like, I could use a nap right now. So I went and took a nap right after I ate. And that was a pretty big mistake. That was not something that I should have done. Because as I awoken from my nap, I awoken to some gurgling in my stomach. Now, I wasn't feeling anything, but when I woke up, I was like, oh, my stomach is making noise. Not like I'm about to throw up or I'm about to be sick, but like, oh, I noticed it's making some noise. So I go about the rest of my day. I'm just watching TV on the couch, and like, all of a sudden I have to burp. So I try to burp. And as I attempt to burp, no air comes up, but fluid up into my throat, like rises to the tippity top of my throat before it meets my mouth. And I'm like, oh, that was weird. I wonder what that was. I never had that before. Interesting. Time goes by, waiting there, watching TV, wasting time, doing what I do best. I have to burp again. So I attempt to burp, and more fluid just tries to escape my stomach. And when you've done that before, right? You sometimes you burp a little bit of stomach acid will come up, and you got to push it back down, and it's not a good feeling. It feels weird. It feels strange. It doesn't hurt, but it just feels uncomfortable, unnatural. That should not be happening. So I'm like, I Google what this could be. I ask my mom, what is this? What do I got going on? I think you might have had this before when you don't eat properly, go to sleep, and, don't let the food digest properly. I guess it was like acid reflux. After, I guess for me, I guess I did not properly let the food digest, and I tried to go, get some shut eye, and that didn't work with my stomach or the process of processing that food. And I was like, wow, this is not good. That should not be happening. And since then I've kind of avoided the whole eating and then going to sleep because I don't want to have that again. And I think that maybe that happened because of that. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and my stomach no longer has the strength to tackle that type of food that's in my stomach when I'm trying to sleep. Because I'm pretty sure, like, if you eat late at night, you go to sleep, generally it's not good for you or for your stomach or how to process that food. I'm pretty sure I've heard that when you go to sleep right after you eat, it doesn't fully digest the food, and that kind of turns into just fat that just kind of spreads around your body, which I do not like. I don't think that's good. I don't think that sounds good. That's not something that I would want to happen to me. Just saying. I don't know. Maybe you're different than I am. That's okay. But like that to me, I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen. That doesn't really sound good. Maybe I should avoid that. Maybe we should avoid just eating late in general. Like when people eat that late at night, depending on what it is, you're probably going to feel like shit the next morning. Same thing with like consuming alcohol, which is what I've learned is like when you are absolutely drinking a shit ton, right? You say you get super drunk, absolutely drunk, and then you pass out. What do you do after that? You go to sleep, right? You just pass out, and then you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning. And what always happens? You always wake up with a hangover because your body was trying to digest the alcohol, right? Your liver was trying to break it down and all that, but you went to sleep, so your body kind of went to sleep mode, where it still does it still digests stuff, it still breaks stuff down, just at a probably much, much slower rate than it should. And you wake up and you're like, oh, I got a headache, what's going on? I don't feel good. It's like because you didn't let your body work. You didn't let your body digest and break down all the stuff that you put in it, all that poison, all that alcohol. It just kind of makes logical sense. Now, that's just what I think happens when you do get drunk, when you do get hammered. That's what I think. I mean, that's always been one of my experiences, when you decide to party it up and not, just not, hydrate. Also, you gotta hydrate. They have these commercials all the time about like liquor commercials where people like would actually take water breaks mid drinking session. Now, I've never tried that before, but that sounds like an incredible idea. Like, if I'm going to go out drinking and drink heavily and drink like, more than I should, why not take water breaks? Why not take some time to slow things down and to be like, you know what? Let me have a glass of water. Maybe, just maybe, that might make it that much easier for your body to digest that alcohol, to break down that alcohol that's in your body. So you could possibly have some more drinks if you also incorporate water. I never really thought about that. Maybe if you want to take it to the extreme, you can bring some like, Pedialyte, maybe a liquid IV instead, get some electrolytes in with that water. That way you could just break it down, break that alcohol down, like a champion, like an actual athlete. That would be actually something that, I would watch a video of somebody like getting hammered, but also combating it with like a liquid IV or like a Pedialyte, and see how it turns out for them. Maybe during that night or even the next morning, like how they feel, just to prove it for science. just so we can be like, hey, like, we have done studies where people have gotten absolutely hammered, plastered, and one person, all they did was do nothing after they, during that night, all they did was drink alcohol. This guy drank alcohol and drank water. This guy drank alcohol and then drank liquid IV, and we got a side by side experiment going on. Like, I would watch that and really gain some knowledge about how to approach partying and getting lit. That would be something that would be super educational. That someone's got to make that. I mean, that would be, super cool to see. Speaking of science, I was watching a little bit of this documentary on Netflix, and I don't normally do this, but I have been recently, and the documentary was called Ancient Apocalypse, and it's from this dude named Graham Hancock, who's like apparently super controversial in the field of like archaeology and like academia, and because he has like these ideas of like these the traditional first civilizations that were taught in school, like Mesopotamia and all those guys, ancient Egypt, and how structures were made and when they were made. And this guy pushes the envelope and wants to really know, like, what the hell happened back then. Like, was it actually the Egyptians that built those pyramids? Was it the Mesopotamians? Were they like the first like ancient civilization, or was it somebody else before that? Now, he makes some pretty big claims. Now, this episode that I just watched was the first one where they were discovering and looking at like a potential ancient pyramid in Indonesia. And when I was watching it, they were, bringing in people like other archaeologists and people to just try to figure out like how old is this structure, and is it possible that we can date the things that we see and find beneath this structure that we believe is a pyramid? Can we find any evidence that this stuff that we find is predating what we already know? Like, is it going further in terms of years? How far back does it go? And how much further back does it go than what we have established as our, benchmark of where societies and civilizations first began? And they were able to find some fragments and some like materials like rocks and stone that were definitely like seemed to be tampered by mankind, and they were dating it like 20,000 BC. Like, that is a long time. That's super long. I'm pretty sure that the first civilization that we publicly like acknowledge is Mesopotamia, which is like 4,000, 5,000 BC, around there. I'm not accurate on it, but like it's pretty far back of like where we can ballpark where Mesopotamia was. And like, if this is going back 20,000 BC, I mean, I can't even like, it's hard to fathom like what actually was happening back then. If this like, these structures and this stuff that's being discovered is actually, we could probably possibly date it back to 20,000 BC. What was before that? Was there anything before that? Like, what on earth happened back then? And he was talking about like how like Indonesia is like a bunch of islands that at one point in time there was a massive flood, and that Indonesia was even a bigger like single continent than it actually is, and it's not as island heavy as we see it to be today. that there was a flood that like just covered big chunks of Indonesia, and what we got now is all these islands. And like, the big flood has been depicted in like other religions as well. Like Christianity has like a flood. Buddhism has a flood. There's like other like freaking like religions and groups of people that have stories of flood, and they were of the flood, and they were like they were showing them in this documentary, or at least this first part. And as I was thinking to myself, like, hold on, some of it was, flooded by, that flood, the ocean. And it got me to thinking of Atlantis. Now, of course, Atlantis is now known as kind of like a mythological city. I believe it's like ancient Greece or whatever, but it's like a city that, that is nowadays kind of like associated with like fantasy and fiction and like, stuff like that. I mean, like we have characters like Aquaman, who's Atlantean, because his people, I believe in that comic book, there is like a flood, or the city does sink, and all the people that occupied that city or were in that city became like adapted to the ocean and became like sea people. That's like the comic book version, right? The fantasy version. But I'm talking about like if this is an actual city that went underwater, that actually exists because there was a great flood back then, and there was a society of people that predated the ancient Greeks, that had this gigantic city in Atlantis, but now it's underwater because of a massive flood that that occurred because of like planetary events that you could not explain, right? Like floods and all that shit. It makes Atlantis seem a bit more plausible. The fact that these floods have happened in the past, that the world sometimes has flooded, and parts of continents just got covered in water, and other parts, like the ones that we have today, are just higher than those other ones that we knew back then. That is crazy to think about. Like how does anyone, how do we not know all this stuff? Archaeology, paleontology, all this stuff that we have to like dig and find. Why are we just not digging more? Like if we found the remnants of Mesopotamia or of ancient Egypt, of like them actually having these tombs and structures and all this stuff underground, who's to say that that's it? Who's to say that there's nothing beneath that? Are we just not going to keep going? Like maybe it's because of the funding. Maybe it's because of like the people who go on these explorations and all these expeditions, that they're like, oh, well, we've got our goal, let's go home. And that's it. And what I put in this textbook is what I found, and that's it. And that's it. There's no more that could be found. And then 200 years later, right? Let's say like that book was written like in 1823. 200 years later, oh, look at this. I found this. Actually, if he dug a little bit deeper, he would have found this as well. But that's not what's being taught in school. What's being taught in school is what this guy found 200 years ago. And that's that. That has that. And no one else has decided to go deeper in that location. Therefore, that's what's being taught. But, sir, I just went deeper in that same location, and I found like a remnants of another city that is even older than what we thought it was. And they're like, nope, that's not true. Just shut up, and we'll just keep teaching what we know. But like, sir, we know more now. We could do more stuff. Maybe we know so much more, we could change what we thought we knew. Oh, that's just not. That won't happen. That's something that a lot of people don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that. If you discover something in this world. You discover something that, could, make you famous, right? Famous. And then somebody else comes along and actually proves you that, you know what? That's not true. It's actually this. It will probably, make you feel like a fool. Just an absolute fool. And you'd be like, no, I was wrong. Why? For me, it is the fact that it looks to be that dinosaurs, especially the Tyrannosaurus Rex, most likely had feathers and not these scales. Now, I still am a huge fan of the Jurassic Park series. And I love the design of the T-Rex in that film. And the series of films. I just think he's so cool. He's such a cool animal. Like, he's almost like, he's definitely like a dinosaur, but kind of like a mix, like, of his skin, like it's scaly, like a crocodile. And as a kid, you think crocodiles are cool too, and a T-Rex is just like a crocodile that can walk. It's like, damn, that shit's cool as fuck. And then you go out through your entire life like, this is a T-Rex, this is it, this is what he looks like, this is how badass he is, he's so cool, he's got green scales, he's tight, he's got little baby arms, but he's still cool. And then you go along with your life, and then 20 years after that, you're like, there's been a discovery. T-Rex had feathers. And then your entire being is just like, what? You kidding me? Are you kidding me? He's a goddamn bird? What are you talking about? You're telling me that T-Rex is a bitch-ass bird? It's the same exact shit. Just on a different level. Just on a level that, you go back to when you were a kid and you liked that shit. And then when you grow up, you still kind of like that shit. And then you're like, oh, look at this, a new discovery. You're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Just forget what I learned? Forget everything? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's the beauty of science, is because it's always changing, bro. We got new discoveries and new evidence that the T-Rex, in fact, has feathers. So what are you supposed to do? You can't continue to make movies that are, quote unquote, supposed to be like, if they're going to depict a T-Rex as realistic as possible, they're going to have to put feathers on them. They're going to have to. I mean, I saw when Jurassic World Dominion came out, which is a bad movie, they had a prologue that was put on YouTube before the movie came out. And it kind of shows like 9 full minutes of like 65 million years ago, like when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth, like to foreshadow, I guess, or to show you, where it all began. And of course it's all CGI, but it looks really cool. But I was actually kind of like surprised how they made the dinosaurs look much more on the realistic side than they do in the movies. I'm pretty sure they showed like a velociraptor in that prologue, and he was much smaller than he was in the films, and he had feathers. And then they had like a Tyrannosaurus Rex too, also with feathers. And I was like, whoa, like they're straight up just putting up more realistic looking dinosaurs than this fucking shit than in the actual time period of the movies, where they're obviously, genetically modified. And I was like, yo, that's kind of neat. That's kind of cool. Now it kind of gives you like a little note, and remember that in the movies and in the book, they're not, copy and paste from back in the day. They're modified. And it just like, it's a little detail that kind of like is lost in the wonderment of like, look, a dinosaur, look at this, look at that. It's like a little, it's a small detail, but it's a good detail, because it's like, oh yeah, mankind, the company that made these dinosaurs, remember they altered their DNA with a frog DNA and used this other shit in it to make it look different. And then that's even more described and more explained in Jurassic World, when like they splice different animals and make them like that. It's much more, explained and pronounced, and much more, in the view, in the viewer's view, of how these dinosaurs are created and how they are. Now, I know that's like a very juvenile way to explain it, throwing it back to the T-Rex having feathers. But that's kind of how it is, That's kind of how, like, this guy Graham Hancock, if he's onto something that if he's providing evidence of stuff that actually happened, predating what we already know, and discovering new discoveries, and people, if it's gonna be a new legit discovery, you kind of have to be like, yeah, well, you know what we were teaching, what we were preaching, what we were thinking back then, everything has changed. And it's not as what we thought it was, Now, I haven't seen a history textbook since I was a kid, but I would love to see a modern-day textbook, history textbook, depicting like ancient civilizations now compared to what it was being taught when I was in school, when I was taking these classes. I want to compare that specific subject and what has changed, if anything has changed. And who knows, Graham Hancock could be full of shit. He could be full of shit. But from what I've seen in this documentary, there is something to be seen. There is something to be seen, and something to be, discovered, I guess. Something to be discovered. And I think if it was full of horseshit, I think if he was really full of horseshit, I don't think that Netflix would have been like, hey, you can make a documentary and you can be totally wrong and make it. But then again, Netflix does have some, corny ass UFO videos that might not be real, might be real. Not too sure. So, I don't know. Obviously, Netflix also has like fiction and nonfiction. So, am I saying that Netflix is because they put it on there, it must be true? Nah, not really. But I think if this guy was really, really, really full of shit and he had nothing to prove, they would not give him a Netflix docuseries. Absolutely no way. No way. No shot. Anyways, people, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. This podcast drops every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review, do all that good stuff. Comment, share, do all that stuff. And thank you for listening and thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.